Yes! Welcome into Sports Bit Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy. Thursday, June 30th. Big game breakdown. Cubs and the Mets and the Red Hot Indians looking for 13 in a row. Take on the Blue Jays. Deep dive the Pittsburgh Steelers. We wrap up the AFC North and the play of the day. Nick Bogdanovich, director of trading, always tells me you'll see the sickest beats in baseball. It's been happening on a daily basis lately. How about the Rangers? 7-3 in the bottom of the ninth. They blow it. Not only did the Yankees win, they covered the run line, Teddy.
Yeah, well, I mean, we told you about that Rangers bullpen on SportsBit yesterday.
Yeah.
So at least we're giving you information that's valid. But three relievers came in for Texas. All three gave up at least one run. They gave up 7 total in 3.1 innings at work. And, of course, Sam Dyson, the first blown save since he took over the closer's role in mid-May. He had converted 16 straight chances. He was charged with one blown save as a setup guy back in April, Pauly. But so it's going to arguably, it's going to count officially as his second blown save this season. But 16 straight chances and then a bad one in the Bronx. But look at the numbers from the Yanks, Paul. You came up with some great numbers for the Bronx Bombers that shows how rare this really was.
It was 124 losses when trailing by 4 plus going into the ninth. And the Rangers, the last 8 years, were 303-2 when leading by 4 or more going into the ninth inning. Oh, man.
Yeah, that, we talked about a moose in Cincinnati on yesterday's show. Well, this was something of a moose in the Bronx. And can you imagine if you had Texas on the run line?
Oh,
plus
God.
1.5. That's as brutal as it gets.
Yep.
Didi Gregorius with that walk-off 2-run home run.
Certainly Bogdanovich is right about the sick beats.
Baseball's the worst of the bunch.
Yep.
You get the occasional one in the NBA that everyone talks about. You get the occasional one in the NFL or college that one talks about. But in baseball, you have some brutal beats to talk about oftentimes on a daily basis, Paul. You really do.
Hey, the Reds were a bad bet. Cubs were 210, bet down to 170. They thought Madden was going to sit people after what happened with the 15-inning marathon.
And guess what? They were trying to bet on the come. They were trying to bet ahead of the information, and the information wasn't any good. Madden played his best lineup. The game was over early. It was 3-0 in the first. It was 7-0 in the fourth. Kyle Hendricks, again, coming up big for the Cubs, working to the seventh to give that bullpen a much-needed break. In Chicago, they had that little slump last week, and this week they appear to be right back on track. We'll talk more about the Cubs when it comes to big game breakdown in just a few minutes.
Two bad bets from the same game. Red Sox in the over. Red Sox shut down by Matt Moore.
Oh, yeah, and the side was bet up from minus 165 to minus 180. The total was bet up from 7.5 up to 8. And basically, side money was dead, total money was dead. Boston never scored. They didn't get an extra base hit. And you remember all the hype? We were talking about Big Pappy and what a great start he got off to.
Yeah.
And he was saying, hey, I'm mentally fatigued. I should never have done this farewell tour. There's too much going on. Well, guess what? Big Pappy's really slowing down right now. About the same time the Red Sox have been slumping. Only one extra base hit, a double, and 4 RBIs over his last 12 ball games.
Bad bet by us. Play of the day, the Twins. Never had a chance. So the leadoff guy, second pitch of the game, home run. But Shields shut them down, and the Twins made it look respectable. Put up a 5 spot in the ninth, but they were out of that one early.
Yeah, we had a winning week with the play of the day last week. This week hasn't been quite so easy, unfortunately. And the Twins were dead wrong on the SportsBit play of the day for Wednesday. Shields throws a gem, and Nolasco doesn't throw a lot of gems. And, of course, we were talking about how the Twins bullpen had been better the last couple days. That rested Twins bullpen, well, they just threw gas on the fire. It wasn't pretty. Of course, the markets were wrong on this one. They were betting the crap out of the under. 9.5 bet all the way down to 9. On yesterday's show, I said I'm not going to ride the over anymore with Minnesota, but I'm sure as hell wasn't going to bet the under. And, of course, that under money, it didn't cash. Chicago with a strong offensive showing.
Plenty of bad bets. More. Rockies at home got beat by the Blue Jays. Money came in on Colorado.
Yeah, the Jays led wire to wire. Aaron Sanchez pitched really well. Of course, he's pitched well everywhere this year. 8-1 with a 3.08 ERA. Marcell Ozuna, he had an ugly 29-pitch ninth inning, but he got out of the jam. He gave up 3 extra base hits, a walk, and a hit batter. And even that wasn't enough to get Colorado the victory. Toronto, they're playing a little bit better right now. I think it was about last year at this time. the Blue Jays started to get really hot.
Good job by you. You had a nice ticket on the Brewers, fading Brock Stewart and the Dodgers.
Yeah, and the markets were right fading Stewart. We're talking about someone who is the 9th different Dodger to start a game this season, the 4th different Dodger to make his MLB debut. And when you start seeing that 4th, 5th, 6th guys making their MLB debuts, it tells you they've already called up all the guys that they could call up that were ready. And now they're forced to call up second-tier choices. And Stewart, a 6th-round draft choice, 2014. He opened up this season pitching at single-A ball. So when a guy opens up out of spring training, they're like, yeah, he's ready for single-A. And then he gets moved to double-A and then triple-A and now to the majors, all in less than 3 months. Yeah, I can understand why the money came in against the Brewers or against the Dodgers. Some of that Brewer money was mine. And, of course, Milwaukee, now 9-2 in Junior Guerra's 11 starts. He's making money even without impressive advanced metric numbers. Boy, he shut down L.A. last night. 8 innings, 2 hits, and no runs allowed. Worth noting, Pauly, that Dodgers team, they haven't won 3 straight on the road since their opening series in San Diego. That was April 4th, 5th, and 6th. Now 0-6 following 2 consecutive road victories.
And the markets were spot on again, fading Jake Peavy. The A's rout them again.
Oh, this Oakland lineup is on fire right now. And Oakland, again, they've been the streakiest team I've seen all year in baseball. They're either on a 5-game winning streak or a 5-game losing streak every time you look. And of course, the throwing Samoan brought his A game. Josh Reddick, back in the number 3 spot in the batting order, playing right field off an extended stint on the DL. And we talked about that Oakland lineup. What do I got? 5, 7, 7, 6, 8, 13, and 7 runs scored their last 7 games. Oakland's been a team that's gotten a fair few overruns in recent seasons. Their bullpen's not that good, and their lineup right now is clicking.
Big game breakdown up next. NLCS rematch. Cubs, Mets, and the Red Hot Indians take on the Blue Jays. Coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Hey everyone, tune into today's MLB Odds Couple show for Thursday, June 30th. Mike Brenner, we joke about how good my second half plays are, but they're really good. They're really good. And I got a couple more for today's show, so tune into the show. And right, you got anything good?
Yes, I do. Don't miss it. We got all kinds of good stuff today.
Yeah.
Back on SportsBit, big game breakdown. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Cubs and the Mets. Lackey against Mats. Cubbies $1.30 on the road, 7.5 the total. Their first matchup since the NLCS last year when the Mets swept the Cubbies and outscored them 21-8. Pitching will be front and center during this series. And Mats, he's got that great left arm, Teddy, but it's what's upstairs in his head that matters most.
Oh, yeah, no question about it. And, of course, the sweep in the playoffs last year, that was fun. That was fun baseball. And it has the feeling of, you look at the Mets' young pitching, you look at the Cubs' young lineup. These two teams are going to be playing in October a lot over the next few seasons. But the Mets have some pitching issues right now, and they have some lineup issues right now. We're going to deal with both of them right here on Big Game Breakdown. Let's talk about Monday. Right here on SportsBit, we issued, let's call it, warnings about Noah Syndergaard's elbow. And Thor, indecisive on the mound, only lasted 3 innings, got lit up. Now Mats has had his start pushed back after being scheduled for last night at Washington. He faces kind of the same issues. Look at this. Does this quote from Mets GM Sandy Alderson make any Mets better confident right now? Quote, "We will continue to monitor his situation, but at this point, it's a function of whether he can tolerate the discomfort while continuing to pitch. At the same time, what we'll do is monitor that level of discomfort, monitor his mechanics to make sure that whatever discomfort he has doesn't cause him to do something that leads to something else. And we'll monitor it on a start-by-start basis." If you want to talk about a quote that gives you zero confidence in betting on the Mets and Mats today, well, that's Sandy Alderson's quote.
Yeah, that is a money quote. Mats, one of the best sliders in MLB, clocked at 93.4 on average speed, only behind Thor and Arrieta. How willing will he be able to cut it loose? And a huge issue for the Mets because it's all about the pitching right now. But look at this offense. Look at this graphic. In June, average 29th, on base percentage 28th, slugging 29th. Oh man! Now with the Cubbies, we've been telling you about Lackey's been on a roll, but he's 37 years old. How much is left in the tank, Teddy?
Yeah, I'm worried about Lackey right now, and that's my biggest concern here. Look, I don't want any part of that Mets lineup. I don't want any part of the Mets in this game. But I'm not convinced I'm going to lay this price on the road with Lackey because there are issues right now, much like there are with Mets. Look, Lackey's ERA just jumped from 2.66 to 3.29 over the last 2 starts. And again, on yesterday's Sports Bet, we said, well, when it's one bad outing or one, incredibly bad outing, you don't want to overreact to it. It's going to affect the stats far more than it affects the pitcher, and you can find value with guys like that. But Lackey's, who's put up better numbers this year, late in his 30s than he has at any point in his career, and his fastball averaged 91.8 this season. That's his highest in 9 years since it became his track stats. His strikeouts per 9, his swing strike percentage, they're all at career high. And you start to wonder as we get into late June and July, might that be a bad thing? His ground ball rate's at his lowest in 2003. And you wonder if he's actually been overthrowing a little bit. I worry about John Lackey over the hot summer months. I think his best pitching of 2016 might already be behind him.
Yep, and I may be mad and will skip a start as well. That's what they should do with Arrieta, consider his struggles. All right, game number 2, live on sportsbookreview.com. The Red Hot Indians, Believeland, taking on the Blue Jays on the road. Carrasco against Dickey. The Indians, $1.25, 8.5 the total. What a story. 12-game winning streak for the Tribe, longest since 1951. And they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. How about trying to translate this one to money? What are Lindor and Carrasco worth right now?
Yeah, I mean, everything. They've outscored opponents 73-25 during this 12-game streak. They're basically outscoring them 3-1. Lindor, number 8 in WAR, wins above replacement among all players in baseball. He's a top 10 player in MLB. And Carrasco, of course, the guy's been good the last 2 years. This year he's been outstanding. Number 7 in fielding independent pitching, FIP, over the last 3 seasons. Now, I do have a concern about Carrasco for this particular ballgame.
Okay.
He's coming off a complete game shutout against Detroit. He threw 117 pitches in that outing. That's the second high for his career. And there's also a concern because the starters have been too good for Cleveland. A bunch of bullpen guys have gone a long while without working. I wonder if that pen is actually too fresh, Pauly, when it comes to those Blue Jays bats.
That's a good point. And when you look at maybe the lineup will be out of sync too because of the R.A. Dickey knuckleball, and he's giving them problems.
Oh, he's giving them a lot of problems. In fact, if you look at the Cleveland roster in their careers against R.A. Dickey, the numbers aren't particularly pretty. I mean, the batting average isn't dismal, but the slugging percentage isn't going to wow you when you talk about 9 extra base hits in 127 at-bats. And, again, we talked about it at the top of the show in bad beats and bad bets. The Blue Jays pitching has been pretty good this year. They're top 10 staff in ERA. Their lineup's been pretty good this year. I think they're ranked 7th now in OPS in MLB and in runs scored. They haven't been able to put it together and put those streaks together. Right now they're starting to hit. They scored 36 runs their last 5 games. And again, it was last year right around this time when the Blue Jays really started to get hot.
Yes, you're right about that. Up next, we finish the AFC North. We preview the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the play of the day, we're going to soccer on SportsBit. Betting Insight today.
Always on the go? Bet365 has one of the top mobile platforms in today's market. Sign up today and don't let your busy life keep you out of the game.
Deep dive time, Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought they were the best team in the NFL last year when they were healthy. Maybe they're the best team this year, upcoming in the NFL season. Over under 10.5 wins. Last year, 10-6 straight up, 9-6-1 ATS. 10-6 to the under. Open 5-0-1 ATS. In their first 6, hard to make money the rest of the way with teams that open that strong. 4-6 ATS the last 10. Mainstream stats, number 3 in total offense, 21st in total D, plus 0.8 yards per play, that was 4th, and plus 2 turnover differential, that was 15th. Tomlin, been there a long time, Teddy.
Yeah, he's entering his 10th season in Pittsburgh, and he's 92-52. He's got the 3rd best record, the Steelers do, have the 3rd best record in the NFL for any team during that span. And yet Steelers fans bitch because he's only won 1 Super Bowl. Ask Lions fans, they mind that, or Browns fans. The guy's got a .639 winning percentage, number 1 Steelers of all time. All right? So for all the Mike Tomlin bitching, the guy's gotten the job done. And I'm with you guys. Tomlin does make me nuts sometimes with his clock management issues. He does make me nuts with some of that end-game decision-making.
Oh, yeah.
But his players play their balls off for him just about every week. And again, his willingness to go for 2 after the Steelers' opening touchdown last year, brilliant strategy, Pauly. A coach who doesn't get enough credit for being willing to think outside the box.
Well, they went for 2 a lot last year, and if you feel you have an edge in that particular matchup, whether you're going to spread them out and throw, whatever it may be, and, Roethlisberger always wanted to go for it too, I say do it all the time because they had a lot of success doing that.
You're preaching to the choir over here.
Yep. Severe salary cap problems, hard to pay their stars. Big Ben for one, and Hayward, the only semblance of a pass rush they had last year. 6 starters gone. The Bryant suspension. Ladarius Green will fill Heath Miller's shoes, who retired, and they're hoping Sammy Coates can become Bryant. I don't know if you're buying that, Teddy.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that Sammy Coates is going to be Martavis Bryant right away. I'm not convinced that Ladarius Green is going to be Heath Miller right away. I'm not convinced that Alejandro Villanueva or Ryan Harris is going to fill the left tackle shoes of Kelvin Beachum, I should say. I mean, good luck with a lot of that. So they're counting on some pretty untested guys. I mean, Ladarius Green's tested, but they're counting on some pretty, the other two certainly, untested guys to fill big shoes.
How about the offensive line? Because we know he's a hell of a quarterback, but Roethlisberger holds on to the ball way too long.
Yeah, I mean, he missed 5 games last year. He is an older quarterback, and he has that style of play where he'll hold the ball in the pocket forever. And that probably makes him more injury prone than most. He's a big guy, so he avoids some of those injuries, but it always seems like Big Ben, he's going to miss a handful of games. They're supposed to get Marquise Pouncey. He comes back off the ankle injury that cost him the entire season last year. 4 of the 5 positions are looking good. You have an OL guru in Mike Munchak coaching up that line, but the left tackle is a big question marks, and that's not the position that you want to have problems with going into the campaign.
No. What'd you think of what they did in the draft?
Well, I mean, top 3 draft choices all came on defense, and of course, when we look at those stats that you brought off the top, their offense could score points with anyone. The defense had problems a year ago. So the top 3 draft choices all came on D. Artie Burns, the cornerback out of Miami. Sean Davis, the safety out of Maryland. Jason Hargrave, the defensive tackle out of South Carolina State. And again, all 3 of these guys, as rookies, are going to be asked to fill departed veteran shoes. That being said, I mean, you talk about 2 of the 3 in Burns and Davis at cornerback and safety. Man, that secondary needed a makeover bad. So even though we're talking about a couple of rookies having to fill big roles, I don't look at Pittsburgh's secondary as likely to be worse than it was a season ago.
You agree with what I said at the top? I mean, look at all this offensive talent. If they would have stayed healthy, my God, all these weapons they have.
Yeah, I mean, if they would have, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yep.
I mean, Big Ben's a 2-time Super Bowl winner. I'll take him on my team in a New York minute, even at age 34. Antonio Brown, the most dangerous receiver in football last year?
Yep.
You got Le'Veon Bell, you got D'Angelo Williams, you got Wheaton, you got Darius Hayward-Bay can make a big play or 2 every now and again. They do have a lot of quick strike touchdown talent, even though, make no mistake about it, that Bryant suspension really hurts.
Still counting on James Harrison, 38 years old at linebacker, despite having 4 first-round linebackers on the roster. Draft picks only matter for that first contract and that free agent deal and the second free agent deal as well. How about the strength of schedule?
Well, I mean, last year was slightly harder than the league average. This year, in 2016, it's a good notch or 2 easier than the league average. AFC North plays the AFC East and the NFC East. Their 2 extra games come against KC and Indy. When you add it all together, though, add up all the win totals for all their opponents this year, it is a below average strength of schedule toughness for the Steelers. There are a couple of issues. They play they play Dallas at home November 13th. Then they only have 1 home game until Christmas. The only 2 sets of back-to-back roadies are wrapped around the 1 game at Heinz Field versus the Giants. But really, from a scheduling standpoint, Pittsburgh doesn't have it that bad this year. And that will have me looking at the Steelers over the total, at least, as my very first lean.
Yep, and hey, I know shoulda, woulda, coulda, but if Williams or Bell were healthy, Toussaint's not on the field when he had the costly fumble, and the Broncos don't win the Super Bowl, and the Steelers maybe would have been in the Super Bowl, because they certainly would have won that game in Denver if that huge fumble didn't happen.
Well, woulda, coulda, shoulda, Pauly. What do we got? It's play of the day time, man.
Yes, let's go.
I gave a dead nuts loser yesterday. Give us a winner for tonight.
All right, money time, betting number 26233, 26234. 12 Pacific, this starts today. Euro 2016 quarters, Poland, Portugal, under 2, minus $1.35. The Poland defense is strong, and you saw it in the last match with Portugal. Ronaldo couldn't get anything going, and that was a sleep inducer too. There were not many opportunities at all in that last match. So we'll go under in this one, and looking forward to these quarters matchups that start today in the Euro 2016. There we go. Cycling guy tomorrow, Tour de France preview, and big game breakdown. All that coming up on the weekend preview tomorrow on Sportsbet Betting Insight today.